Adrian. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to begin by thanking every single one of you for taking the time today and giving me the opportunity to show you a little bit about Timekeeper and SWK in general. For those of you that don't already know me, my name is Patty Benitez once again. I am a former Hightower employee, and the reason I'm mentioning this is because I'd like to give you a little bit of background regarding Timekeeper. Originally, Timekeeper was written by the folks at Sage Software. At a certain point, Hightower took over the enhancement and continued developing this enhancement. They actually had it rewritten to include a web interface. Since then, SWK has purchased Hightower's assets, Timekeeper being one of them, and we're very proud and happy to bring this on to our portfolio and continue to maintain it. Not only that, but we have also begun to use it internally. So we can basically speak for what we actually do. Once again, thank you for joining me. The SWK Timekeeper enhancement will enable you to track employee time for accurate invoicing, thus enhancing service to your clients and increasing overall efficiency. I have to mention that to everyone because it will definitely help you improve your company's profitability, and it will maintain a competitive edge in today's marketplace. So let's briefly go through today's agenda. I'm going to try to make the PowerPoint as fast as possible because I really do want to be able to show you the Timekeeper software in action. So we will begin with an overview. Talk a little bit about integration. Because there's a lot of resellers on the line, I'd like to give you an idea of who can benefit from the Timekeeper enhancement. I'd like to talk a little bit about our clients' pain points, knowing them firsthand because, as I mentioned, SWK just started using Timekeeper. I believe it was in September. I'm going to talk about the user setup. It's crucial because, as Adrian mentioned, we do not take up your Sage 100 user licenses. We use device licenses, and you will notice, I will present to you that they are much less expensive. Timekeeper entry anytime, anywhere. This is something that all of our channel partners were asking for and many of our existing end users. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate how easy that can be done. And when I do that, I will also talk about the Timekeeper, which is the web interface. We'll talk a little bit about enhanced performance. I'll go straight into the presentation. And then, of course, I'd like to mention a couple of other SWK enhancements and leave you with our contact information. So I was trying to come up with a joke to start the presentation because I'm a nervous wreck, and I just couldn't think of any. I asked, and this is a true story, I asked my coworkers, you know, think of a good joke to say, and they gave me the most ridiculous joke you've ever heard. Why is the cookie feeling sad? Now tell me if that's not childish. And I'm like, come on, I can't give this joke out to all of these professionals. They're going to think I'm crazy. Well, I am crazy. So the cookie feels sad because it's crummy. I can hear you all laughing. Okay, let's go back to Timekeeper now. With the capabilities of SWK's Timekeeper, you can improve billing cycles, increase your cash flow, and streamline expense reimbursement by leveraging automated accounts receivable and accounts payable invoicing generation facilities. Timekeeper is ideal if you want to electronically assign jobs to employees and collect data on actual time spent and costs incurred on each task. So here's a true story. One of our employees was not able to assist a certain project. He became ill. He couldn't come back. There was no way we can get information. Timekeeper, because he was entering his time as he was working on the project, we were able to produce a report that showed us exactly what projects he was working on, where he was on each project, et cetera, et cetera. So at no time did we lose anything. This module will allow users to record time and expenses and enable department managers to approve time and expense entries. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that during our presentation, but the good news is, managers, you have full access, live, to any of your employees' data. You don't have to wait for them to post. You don't have to wait for anything except for them to enter their time. Your employees can enter time and expense data into their Sage 100 software using this Timekeeper module. the platform independent Timekeeper entry application, which is a remote entry screen that's identical to the one that you see within the Sage Timekeeper module, or they can enter their time via .timekeeper, which is the web entry screen. All of these solutions are available when you install Timekeeper. They're not sold separately. You purchase Timekeeper once and you're able to use the web entry screen and also your remote screen. So you can choose the best time expense entry solution for your company. Time and expense entry that's processed through your .timekeeper or the web entry screen, again, is flowing back live into your Sage 100 ERP. You don't have to wait for anybody to re-enter it, and I'm going to keep reiterating that because the information flows back live. That's something that you won't be able to get with any competitive product. Because Timekeeper is fully integrated with your Sage 100 ERP system, you can process time expense entry information into a number of modules, including accounts receivable, payroll, sales order, time and billing professional, which are also handled by SWK. This level of integration enables you to increase overall efficiency and enhance service to your clients by tracking employee time and expenses for accurate and timely invoicing. One of the features that we offer with Timekeeper is a secondary approval. We usually have our clients access this secondary approval where they can see the time that's still a work in process, and they can call and say, you know what, this is not what I was expecting. Maybe it was less hours your consultant was out here. So we avoid any billing disputes after the fact. We actually take care of them before we invoice. Here's a little bit of a flow chart with regards to Timekeeper. And the reason that I'd like to show you this is because different companies have different requirements. Some people may want to integrate Timekeeper with accounts receivable. When Timekeeper is integrated with accounts receivable, time entry data is posted to your accounts receivable invoice data entry, allowing you to bill clients for time-based projects. Say, for example, clients that would like to bill for time as well as material. So now Timekeeper integrated with job cost, time entry data is posted to job cost posting entry feature, allowing you to accurately determine the cost of a project. If accounts receivable is integrated to job cost, and job cost is integrated to accounts receivable, I know it sounds like a mess, but I'll show you a little better in the presentation. You can set Timekeeper data to be available in both modules. As a result, time entries will be posted to AR and job cost simultaneously. Other people may want to integrate Timekeeper with payroll. Time entry data is posted to the payroll data entry. You can integrate Timekeeper with any of the other modules and with payroll module. The Timekeeper module will post time entries to the other integrated modules and to payroll. If you integrate Timekeeper with accounts receivable with job cost, sales order, time and billing, or time and billing professional, and payroll, you can also include job cost data when Timekeeper posts time entries to payroll. So just keep that in mind. You have that flexibility. When Timekeeper is integrated to sales order, for example, time entry data is posted into sales order invoice data entry. If integrated to time and billing professional, data is posted into time and expense entry. So now you know you're able to post data into these different modules, and depending on your line of business, you'll be able to complete your business process according to what you are accustomed to, and you won't have to change your process because of Timekeeper. So who can benefit from Timekeeper? I want to underline, even before I mention the others, that Sage resellers are our #1 clients, mainly because as resellers we bill for services, and we like to keep track of the different projects that our technicians have been working on. So it's a lot easier for us to have our technicians enter their time on a daily basis or whenever is more convenient, and then have a manager approve them. Basically, anyone who bills for time spent on projects and or services, such as CPAs, consulting or engineering firms, and again, yes, Sage resellers, can benefit from Timekeeper. Timekeeper is for any company that bills clients for projects based on time, that wants to eliminate double entry of time data for payroll or employee staff that works outside the office. Now, it's a fact, it's a proven fact, that Timekeeper will empower any organization with the critical information needed regarding real costs associated with jobs, projects, and services. By using SWK's Timekeeper enhancement, you will immediately be able to identify time and expense that your employees enter in their Sage 100 ERP. I keep reiterating, it's live data no matter where they enter it. Unless they're entering it through the remote screen where they have to synchronize it eventually, everything else is live. Now let's talk a little bit about why Timekeeper. And first of all, we all know the statistics. We've heard of how much time is wasted entering time through Excel sheets and then having someone key them into Sage and having to approve them, etc. So time is wasted entering information already collected by someone else. Not to mention, the information entered will be prone to error due to duplicate entry. Let's face it, everyone would rather focus on activities that build revenue or support the business. Inaccuracy is only the beginning. The approval process is lacking or insufficient. I don't know about you, but I've had a hard time reading some people's handwriting. And good luck trying to understand everybody's timesheets. Some employees, if you're lucky, will email their timesheets eventually, which means who knows when you'll get them. Others may not submit them at all. Guesswork is usually required to figure out how time is spent. You're unable to allow secondary approval of time entered. That is just crucial for us. If our managers would not be able to see what each employee is doing and approve or disapprove or even edit the information, we would be losing much more than time, and I mean clients. So with Timekeeper, managers will be able to see at the moment employee time entry, among other things. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the user setup, as I mentioned at the beginning of our PowerPoint. And the reason being, it's important for me to have everyone understand that you will not take up your Sage user licenses if you are entering time remotely or through the web. So I mentioned the Timekeeper is rolled out into one single module. Timekeeper Local works as a standard Sage 100 module, meaning that each user will take up a Sage user license because they will be entering time directly through Sage. The Timekeeper Remote can be used by both remote and local devices. It could be installed on a laptop. It can be installed on a different workstation, and it will allow you to sync information back into Sage as long as you have access to the server where Sage resides. It does not require a Sage 100 user license. It will require a device license. And it will chew up a device license only during the time of synchronization. The Timekeeper, for example, extends the capabilities of your Timekeeper module to your company's website, allowing you to track employee time with up-to-the-moment accuracy. Employees can enter time from any computer with any internet connection. Timekeeper extends the capabilities of your Timekeeper module to your company website, also by allowing your employees to access this web entry screen from anywhere in the world. I just wanted to briefly show you a sample of each type of entry screen. To your left, you'll see the Timekeeper entry screen from Mass 90 or from Sage. I have to put my dollar in the jar now because I said the M word. And then on the right side of the screen, you're going to notice the web entry screen. They look slightly different, but they allow for the same information. Timekeeper entry operates in different data access modes, as I mentioned. The Timekeeper entry has been written in Java to enhance performance and provide new ways of entering data. The Timekeeper remote screen is exactly the same as the Sage 100 launcher. As I mentioned on the previous slide, Timekeeper entry can function in the following modes. So we have direct access, which is you take up a Mass 90 user license, a Sage 100 user license. Again, we have the remote access, which looks exactly the same as the Sage entry screen. And we have the Java Web Start, which is the one on the right side of your screen, and the information flows back live, and you'll see that during our presentation. Don't mean to be repetitive, but I do want to emphasize the fact that when you're outside of Sage, the entry screen does not take up your Sage 100 user license. A little bit more about that Timekeeper, which is the web entry screen. The features available to you within that Timekeeper would be, for example, your employees will now be able to enter their time from anywhere in the world with an internet connection. All they have to do is either click on a hyperlink on your website or type in an assigned URL address. They can access work in progress and edit existing records, create new time or expense entries on the web. Managers, employees, and customers will have their own login available for approval. That Timekeeper, again, will require an SWK device license that will not take up your Sage 100 user license. Changes employees make through the new Timekeeper will immediately be available in Sage 100, providing you with real-time accuracy for billing. And I know that's crucial for everyone. So some of the enhanced performance features, the actual versus bill time. If you set a minimum billing time and billing time increment per activity and compare the bill time versus the actual time entered, that's basically how that would work. Payroll update, run the payroll update as a separate process which will allow you to restart the update without losing Timekeeper information. You can also summarize earnings codes when posting to payroll. Now I'm saying posting to payroll, but you're going to see that we don't have to post. We actually can go to payroll even before we post, and we'll be able to see information entered in Timekeeper. As far as expense reimbursement, you can mark an expense to be reimbursed through accounts payable, general ledger, or payroll. The overtime calculation, you can choose to calculate overtime automatically when posting to payroll, and then you can also use a markup code. Specify whether to use a markup percent, a flat markup amount, or a combination of both during data entry. I'm going to jump straight into the presentation. So the first thing that I'd like to point out is the fact that you're going to notice Timekeeper will show up in your in your Sage 100 menu as any other standard Sage 100 module. The reason behind that is due to all of the modules that we integrate with, we don't want you to have to double enter anything. So when you initially install Timekeeper, there is a utility that will allow you to migrate data from the modules that you're integrating with. So for example, I'm integrated to accounts receivable. I don't have to key in all of my customers again. All I have to do is migrate or import my customers from accounts receivable, and I'll be able to access them from both ends. Now I typically like to go through the Timekeeper options only because I like to show everyone the flexibility that Timekeeper offers. Once again, it is key that you know you won't have to change your business processes. It's the other way around. The software will accommodate to your existing business processes, and you'll see the flexibility. You can see that I'm integrated right now to accounts receivable and payroll. It's not a must. You decide. And once you do integrate, it'll explain what exactly will happen with this integration. So you can see the billing will be done through AR. In a separate process, payroll entry will also pull in Timekeeper entries. So it's a brief explanation of what will happen when you integrate. Your Timekeeper period, you can see either calendar or fiscal. And I'm not going to read through the whole screen, but as you can see, there's flexibility as far as the comment lines, capitalization. I'm not integrated to job cost, and since I'm integrated to payroll, I have my posting cycle and the date ranges. Now here's where you have several really nice options as far as data entry, because now you decide if you'd like the billing source to be from where. In this case, for my presentation, I chose from the employee, but you can always change this. The default time entry format can be either decimal or clock, and you can see that you can set up default minimum billing, and then default billing, default billing time increments as well. Do you want to require a Timekeeper project or not? And would you like to lock approved work in process? And you can see the other options here. Now we were talking about the approval process. In my presentation, I am requiring a manager approval, which means that as an employee, I will not be able to post work in process because I have to have it approved by a manager first. And the system will not allow me to do anything other than have my manager approve it. You can require secondary approvals. Remember I mentioned that you can either have a customer or a salesperson approve. So it's very convenient. One of the things that we like to do, as I mentioned before, is offer this secondary approval to our customers because you cannot imagine how many billing disputes we can avoid with that. Timekeeper, when I refer to Timekeeper, please know I'm referring to the web entry screen, and you will get to see it during this presentation. So you can see there's a little bit of information here for you as far as adding a logo to your screen, etc. If you're integrated to Payroll, you can see that you have the option to allow salaried employees, set a default hours per day, summarize payroll lines, the calculation period. You have options to whether or not you're going to allow for overtime based on hours. And then terminology. This is really nice because, for example, some people will call employees team members. You can change that, and the terminology will flow out throughout the system. Before I go to the entry screen, I just want to briefly go through the project maintenance. And I'm briefly going to show you a little bit of the activity maintenance. You can see that the billing rate in this case is not showing its grayed out, and that's because I'm billing by employee rate. The status is still active. You can always change it to hold billing or closed. Some people don't want to actually have these invoices out. Depending on the project, we're not going to invoice. It's one of those ongoing projects that we want to wait for. You decide if you want to override activity, and you decide how. If for this particular project you have budgeted hours or amount, you can set it up as well. Just briefly to show you how you will be able to keep track and view history of this particular project. And if you do choose any particular work in process that was already entered, you can drill down all the way into that. As far as the activity maintenance is concerned, you can see that we have the activity code could be up to, depending on the integration, up to 20 digits. Your activity can be either time expense or reimbursable expense. Unit of measure, you decide if you want none, time, or miles. It can be billable, no charge, or do not bill. And you can include a billing rate if you'd like. Because depending on the security you give your employees, they can change the billing rate option right on the entry screen. Not most people do that, but you can lock billing option and lock billing rate, as you can see here. As you can see with this activity, the modules that I'm linked with is accounts receivable and payroll. You can view history depending on the activity, and then your detail. You can always go in and check that. Instead of going through each one of these, I just want to point out the fact that you have holiday maintenance, word substitution maintenance, you have an exception maintenance. And briefly with the utilities, I just want to point out the fact that you have these options where you can purge detail history, purge summary, recalculate summary. The Timekeeper import is basically to bring data from other modules. Timekeeper allows you to create crystal reports. We have several that are out of the box, as you can see here. The story I told you about our employee who was not able to attend for a while, and we had to print out his project history report. We were able to see everything that we needed to find out regarding the project he had been involved with, call his clients, make sure they were okay with the fact that we were assigning another technician, and everything went on business as usual. So let's go straight into Timekeeper data entry. Now remember, I'm integrated with accounts receivable, so I have information that was already imported regarding my customers, projects, and activities. You can see at the moment I don't have any data entered. And you'll understand why I'm showing you this in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and enter data with today's date. Before I do so, you can see the different options on the entry screen as far as being able to change employees. You can create filters based on customer, project, activity. I like this particular view, but you can change it to a summary view. See that? And I'm going to go ahead and choose one of my customers. Now these are the customers that are existing in accounts receivable. I have a project that was previously set up for this company. And remember, I said I didn't require a project, so I could have skipped that. And now I'm going to go ahead and choose an activity. Now notice how I have time activities as well as expenses. And I said I wanted to use the employee rate, but I gave myself permission to override. You can always limit your employees, of course, to override this. And notice how I have the different options. My bill option, again, I gave myself permission to do this, but you can limit access to your employees. And I'm going to say we were out there for 7 hours. You can include as much of a description as you'd like, and when you decide to invoice, there's an option that tells you, that asks you whether or not you'd like to include the description details on the invoice or just the heading, the top line. So right now, I'm entering time through Sage 100, which means I am taking up a Sage user license. Say, for example, I know this project is going to go on for about a week, and I don't want to have to keep going in and keying in the hours or anything. I know how long I'll be out there. I can click on this recurring button, and when I accept it, it's going to ask me for the dates on which I'm going to be working on this project. So I'm going to start on the 27th and end a week from today, which would be the 6th. It'll ask me if I want to skip weekends and holidays, and I'll say yes. And just notice what just happened here. I have to go to March to show you, but there you are. You don't have to key in one at a time. Now say, for example, on the 28th I was there, and you know what, I was only there for 5 hours. I can always go back and make changes, and I can always change my description. So this is a different test, and accept it. The change was made automatically. Now I want you to keep a close eye. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 entries. They start on the 27th and end on March 6th. We are going to log in now to the Timekeeper, the .Timekeeper, which is the web interface. Notice how all I had to do was go to a URL address and click on this icon. Now all I have to do is type in my username, user ID or remote user ID and password. Notice how I have the different entries here. The same that you saw within Mass 90. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to close out of the Mass 90 screen, and we're going to enter some time using the web entry screen. Now remember, this entry screen, bear with me here. The information I key in, it will be flowing back live into the Sage 100 screen. Most people ask what it will take to have the web entry screen set up. I can tell you the best thing to keep in mind is that if you have eBusiness Manager from Sage, then we require that. And that would be the link between the web entry screen and Sage, your Sage screen. If you do not, then you're going to need a Providex web server. Please ask your reseller for additional information. The Providex web server will then serve as the link between this screen and your Sage 100 screen. So let's start here. On the 27th, we have one entry with 7 hours. Now I can edit that information if I wanted to. I'm going to go ahead and change it to 4 hours. And then I'm going to start a new one, a new entry here with something different. I'm going to say we were there for 8 hours. Oops. Once I accept it, notice how it moved to the left side of the screen. Before I go back to the Sage 100, I just want to show you a little bit about the different lookups that you have on the web entry screen. You can see the sort options by date or customer, by time and expense, time only or expense only. The manager is able to log in using the web entry screen as well. So at the moment I'm logged in as an employee, but I'm also a manager. So I would have a list of employees here that I can access. Notice how when I clicked on the employee information, the entries came up. At this point, I can go ahead and accept them, approve them all, or clear all of the entries. If I was given permission to view other companies, it will list the companies that I have access to. And then say, for example, I want to see an hour summary. It's available for me here. So I'm going to go ahead. We've already accepted this. I'm going to close out of this entry screen for now, but keep in mind we have 2 entries from the 27th that we did not have on our original entry screen with Sage. Now the reason I had to get out of the Sage entry screen is because that's the way it refreshes the data from the web entry screen. So now when the Sage entry screen comes back up, you're going to be able to see the data that I just entered. Let me just bring the rest of the data up. So you can remember this is it, and we have, this is from the web. And again, you can always go back and edit this information. Test it from page 100. Now, I had mentioned to you that the remote screen is identical to this screen. So the screen that you have in front of you right now would be your Sage 100 entry screen, your Sage remote screen when you're disconnected, and then all you would have to do is synchronize. Okay, so we finished entering time. Let's enter a quick expense, and I'll do it on the 28th. And you can see it's as easy as that. If you give your employees access to time as well as expense, then they will be able to choose. I'll choose mileage for now. And let's say it was 80 miles. This client was kind of far. And see how they have the markup percentage or amount if they needed it? So you can see the rate sources from the activity in this case. Now we have time entered, expenses entered, and just to prove a point, I'm going to go back to the web entry screen, and that expense should also be showing up there. So the live communication is back and forth. It's not just going from the web to Sage 100. It's also going from Sage 100 over to the web. See, and I can also make changes here. So it really wasn't 80 miles, it was 70. And I'll accept it. And now that I go back to my Sage screen, remember I have to refresh it by getting out of it. So once it comes back up, we're pretty much done. So now, I know that there's a 10-second delay, so I apologize for that. I probably should have just showed you. Remember I changed it from 80 to 70? There's the change. It's instant. Okay, so now my employee has finished entering their time. No one had to check their writing and try to type it in for them. No one had to receive all of those timesheets that they wrote up in Excel and have to retype them in. The employees are entering their own time, and the manager has the opportunity to approve them. So I showed you how you can go in and approve them from the web entry screen. This is where they would go from within Sage 100. And notice I have access to all employees. Right now, all I want to do is work on David Emerson. I have the time that he entered as well as the expenses. And I know this guy is pretty trustworthy. I'm just going to go ahead and accept them all, or not. You can go one by one. And once you accept them, you're going to be able to see a management approval report. So you get a lot of opportunities to review before anything is actually invoiced. And keep in mind, you have that secondary approval that I'm not using. So as you can see, in my report, and it's a very simple report, but remember, these are crystal reports, so you can customize them at will. You can see that I'm showing my employee, if it was a type of time or expense, customer information, project, activity, units, and amount. Now that I approved everything, I can go ahead and post the information. Now, before I post, I just want to briefly go into accounts receivable and show you that I don't have anything in there yet for this particular client. Notice how, as I click everywhere, there's nothing there. When I come back, my invoice is going to post into accounts receivable. It will be there. Now, depending on where you'd like to process Timekeeper posting, the difference would be that if you post through time and billing, then you would have to continue your invoice process through time and billing, as I mentioned during our PowerPoint. So I'm going to go ahead and post, and I'm going to do my work in process selection. So you can see I'm going to choose 7 records. Let me choose March. And it takes a few seconds, you'll see, but now that we're going to go ahead and post, you'll see the information move all the way over to accounts receivable till we have our final invoicing. Notice how I have my time total, and I also have my expense total. Now, the reason that you see this message is because of the fact that my system is integrated to accounts receivable. If at some point you decided to integrate to other modules, it would also warn you here exactly where the information was being posted to. But don't look at my out-of-whack dates here. Usually I begin my presentations by letting everybody know I'm not a CPA, and that's why my dates are all out of whack all the time. I'm going to try to finish this as soon as possible. Okay, so that was done. If you did have any expense reimbursement, you'd go further. I'm not going to go there yet because I'd like to show you the accounts receivable portion of this, and I know we're running out of time, so this is it. Notice how the information regarding the customer I'm working on is there. And if you recall, the different entries that I had within Timekeeper are now available on my invoice data entry screen. And I'd like to just maximize this screen a little bit. You can see the powerful integration that we have with your Sage 100 modules. And I'm showing you only accounts receivable, but the same thing would apply to time and billing professional, job cost payroll, sales order. We have that same type of integration. We use the same files that you're familiar with within Sage and allow you to use them through Timekeeper. Here's my best explanation of Timekeeper. You look at it as a means of entry, accurate entry. You're saving not only on employees' time, you're saving on probable errors, you're saving on double entry, and we all know the statistics there. I mean, based on 100 employees, we've heard before the amount of money that you can save a year if you just have the employees enter their own time and have the managers approve it. So this is basically the gist of Timekeeper. One thing that I'd like to mention before we go on to questions is the area where you would register Timekeeper also includes spell check at no additional fee. So if you're interested, please be sure to keep this in mind, the Library Master extension. I also wanted to show you a little bit about where you can obtain a demo version of the software. There's two areas. Because we are still working on Hightower's website and transitioning everything to the SWK website, there's two areas that you could actually download Timekeeper and try it out for 45 days. Please contact your reseller for assistance because the integration between Timekeeper and the modules in Sage can cause damage if you don't install it on a test system. So you can see at the Hightower website, go to Hightower Software, Timekeeper, free trial download. And you'll be able to find the different versions. So if you're not on 4.5, you'll see the different versions. The other thing is that you can also find any service updates, etc. The other area where you can find Timekeeper is at the SWK website. And you can go to Products, SWK Hightower Enhancements. Once you choose Timekeeper, you will also be able to find software download. And it's basically the same type of download that you would get at the Hightower site. So you can go to both areas. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact your reseller. I have a very close relationship with most Sage resellers, and I'd be happy to help with any questions at all. If you'd like a one-on-one presentation, that can also be possible. I typically try to do the one-on-one presentations because I know how important it is to see that the software functions in your work environment. The last thing I want to show you before we go to questions are the other SWK offerings, and one of them is MapaDoc. I do want to make sure that everyone knows that we have an EDI solution out there for you. So if you have any clients that are interested in EDI, please be sure to keep us in mind and give us a call. We are happy to help. And that pretty much does it.